Hey, I'm Vince Beese, the host of Early Wins, and on this show, we interview startup founders to uncover their secrets to success closing their first customers. During this three-question, 10-minute episode, you'll gain insights and lessons to help you land deals, find market fit, and chart your path to scalable success. Our guest on this episode is, hopefully I'll get it right, Hersh
Tapadia.
Tapadia. He is the co-founder and CEO of Allstacks. Hersh, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. First question right off the bat. Let's get to it, right? You've been part of Allstacks for a while now, so maybe you need to go back in your memory a little bit. But can you share with us like one of those first deals you guys signed that were really kind of a big break for you all and share little details into that one?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a really notable one that comes to mind. And basically what it was when we started our company, we're building a developer productivity platform. And it is a product and a mission that scales with size of company. So we knew from the very beginning that bigger companies are better fits for what we do, but we also needed to earn our way to get there. When we got to like our first kind of small enterprise, 1,000 developer, several thousand employee company, we had to figure out how to like convince them to work with us, sign the deal. We were competing with a couple other startups on this deal, and all of them had raised 10 times the money that we had. And from our perspective, being an early stage startup, it was really interesting from a mindset perspective. We're like, those companies look more legitimate. Now, 8 years later, looking back as I've interacted with so many more enterprises, one thing I realized was the difference between having $2 million or $20 million or $50 million from the perspective of a multi-billion dollar enterprise company, it's actually not that significant. They don't care. They don't think there's a big difference. And so as I reflect about like how and why did we win that deal, it was really all about our willingness as the founding team and the company to be partners with that enterprise. It wasn't that we were building custom software. We're not a consulting firm, but they were really a co-development partner for us, and they knew that we would be responsive and we would allow them to have a hand in helping shape our mission. Now, there's two sides of that. One side is that they had to be aligned with what we thought was right for the business. Again, we're not a consulting firm, but also they were willing to give that feedback, engage with us, and really be that partner. And I think we demonstrated that so strongly that they chose to work with us over everyone else, and just a phenomenal partner. Like highest engagement, paid dividends. The contract grew every year
What
nearly.
industry was this company you're referring to?
It was a security company, private equity backed. They had like acquired a bunch of security products over the years.
How big were they, employee-wise or revenue-wise?
They were in the hundreds of millions in revenue. I'm trying to think at the time, I want to say the valuation was single digit billions.
Okay.
They had gone public. Later, they got taken private and by a big PE firm and added a bunch to it.
Right. So it sounds like your first notable win was someone that kind of early adopter, right? They
Hmm.
believed in your mission, right? They took a chance and you
Absolutely.
relied on them for feedback throughout the whole process, right? Was there a
Absolutely.
relationship prior to you speaking to them? Meaning, did you or someone in your team know folks there?
No, not in any material way. I mean, there's always the part of our team is based in Austin, and this company is based in Austin, and so there was like just the community of technologists, right? But there wasn't like a brother-in-law that we
Yeah.
could rely on. That was actually really interesting for us as a startup. A lot of investors would ask us, how many of these deals are brother-in-law deals, as they would say. Unfortunately for us, the number was zero. We had to go win all of our deals on our own. We didn't have anyone routing us deals, for better, for worse.
All right. Question number two. What mistakes or challenges did you face with these first few deals and how did you overcome that?
Yeah, I think one of the challenges that folks have, especially if they don't have a sales background, I'm an engineer, I'm a product guy. My career before starting Allstacks was running engineering and product teams. And so I was customer facing, but I wasn't sales facing. prior to this. So I had to learn all these things. And the biggest thing I would say, we learned this kind of we were part of an accelerator called NC Idea locally in Raleigh, and in that there's Groundwork Labs was what it was called. It's called NC Idea Labs, and we had a little cohort of people. And I remember after I learned this lesson, I thought about how I would teach this lesson to others. And so there's this other guy working on a company, and he was trying to negotiate a deal, and he was telling me this pricing, and I said, I think you should be 3 times the price of what you're putting out there. He was like, what do you mean? And I was like, trust me, they don't know the difference. And we had the same problem. Like, we didn't know the difference. It wasn't material to them, but it was material to us. And it also made them take us more seriously and engage with us. And so, early on, we were pricing too low. And as we increased price, we actually found better product market fit. And so what I told this guy is I said, here's what you're going to do. I think for him, the number was $75,000. I said, you're going to go in, they're going to say, okay, let's talk pricing. You say, all right, 1 year contract, $75,000. This guy was holding an apple. I said, and they're going to take the biggest bite of that apple as soon as you say the number. So you can't say anything else. You can't mitigate what you said or try to negotiate against yourself. And he went and did it. Like, he literally got on the phone, took it, and he said, before he said he'd said the number and he panicked and he wanted to take it back, but he couldn't because his mouth was full. And before he could finish swallowing, the guy had said, okay.
And then he was rambling on, I bet.
Yeah, it was all done. He said, because I wasn't able to talk, I closed
So
the
he
deal.
was charging about 25,000. You gave him advice to 3x it. So he went into 75,
Hmm.
skeptical, puts out the word. And
Puts out the
because the
word.
prospect probably was like, okay,
That's exactly what happened. That's exactly what happened. But we're our own worst enemy, right?
yeah,
As soon as we say something we're not confident in, we immediately start to ameliorate what we're saying. And if you just stop and revel in the silence for a minute, it usually goes over better, and the silence makes you more.
two good points from this one. One, you're probably going to initially undervalue the fee you should charge. So think about that. And two is don't be afraid to ask because, you can always go down, right? You can't go up. That's harder to do for sure. And so then last question for you, what piece of advice would you offer founders out there that are looking to land their first enterprise customers? You've learned a lot over the last bunch of years, but what's a piece of advice besides the negotiation advice you would provide to them?
So, one thing that I think is really clear is that when you're going after that first enterprise customer, it's not enough that they have the need, because every enterprise is complex and messy and they all have a number of needs. But you have to do a couple things. You have to align the need to some like top line business value that they're facing. It could be an efficiency problem, a balance sheet issue. So if you can align it to the balance sheet, some line on the P&L, this affects your COGS, this affects your EBITDA, this affects OpEx or something. That's really important. But the champion also needs to be able to communicate in those terms and has to feel like a personal driver of their career. And what we've found of late is that if you take those two things and couple it with a champion that has tried to do it themselves, some DIY solution, and failed, those 3 points together are perfect because they know the complexity of the problem you're trying to solve because they've tried to solve it themselves. They're aspirational. They want to propel themselves. They're not just punching a clock. And they understand the business language that's needed to make the business case to get the deal done. Because no enterprise buys anything without a business case.
They shouldn't.
They shouldn't.
Well, my friend, this is great advice. I really appreciate you coming on Early Wins. And I know our founders will love to hear your sage advice. Thanks, Hersh. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you.